entertaining universe. Now, I know I've said on this channel before that the debate, or there's a whole, DC versus, Marvel. There's just a big old fat war going on between, whether it's the TV shows, the movies of Marvel versus the TV shows and movies of DC that have been going on for many years now. And I know I've told you that I prefer Marvel over DC, but there are some characters that may be a little bit better in DC than in Marvel. But there's also great characters in Marvel that are better than the characters in DC. So it's kind of a 50-50 split. Now, there's a couple of things that happened this week that could be, dispute both sides of the fact. Like, for example, the new TV show that Marvel just released on Disney Plus, with it being the Falcon versus the the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think there was 5 episodes that happened yesterday, or there's going to be 5 total. I don't know how they're going to do that. So there's that. Also, on the other side of things, Zack Snyder cut of Justice League also happened this week as well. So, like I said, there's some new villains. There's probably some new characters. There's some new, different things that happen in the Snyder cut versus the original that came out of Justice League. And it's way longer, by the way. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the original version of Justice League was like 3-ish hours long. Maybe even a little bit longer than 3 hours. And then the Snyder cut is like 4 hours and 2 minutes long. And I'm like halfway through the movie right now as we speak. And I have not started watching the Falcon and Winter Soldier episodes that were released last night. But that's what, and there may be other things that happen, over the course of, the next month or two that could change it back to Marvel. Because there's not a whole lot of, DC stuff being released other than the Snyder cut that just released on HBO Max, which I watched a little bit of it yesterday. Now, there's other shows that are being released on HBO Max that have nothing to do with the DC versus Marvel stuff. And there's also other stuff that has a lot to do with the DC versus Marvel, like, Loki. The Loki TV show is supposed to be happening in June. Then you got Hawkeye with Kate Bishop in it, and just a bunch of other stuff. But that's beside the point. So my whole argument for this is that there's still a lot of stuff that Marvel's releasing on Disney Plus over the course of the next 3 or 4 months, maybe even longer than that. And then there's hardly any DC stuff that's being released over the next 3 or 4 months. The only thing I've heard of is the Snyder cut of Justice League, which I think is the only movie DC is releasing right now. Everything else is Marvel related stuff. You've got Far From Home. You've got, like I said, you got Loki. You got Hawkeye. You've got all kinds of other stuff that's happening with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not a whole lot out of the, DC world. So I guess Marvel is overpowering DC again, because they always do that. But there's other things that are happening over the next, couple months as well. Like, for example, there's, HBO Max's, we've got Mortal Kombat. The new Mortal Kombat movie is supposed to be released, I think, in April or May, maybe even later, is June. Then I know next week, or a couple, 12 days from now, they're going to have the Kong versus Godzilla film, which I'm looking forward to watching. I mean, there's all kinds of new movies and all kinds of new TV shows on Disney Plus and HBO Max that I'm looking forward to watching. And it's not just Marvel stuff, and it's not just DC stuff that's being released. There's other things that are being released. I'm just saying, right now, it looks like Marvel's taking the lead again from DC. But DC had a strong, from what I've seen so far in the Snyder Cut, has a strong case. But Marvel's just moving 10 times faster than DC is. And they've been doing that for a long time. And I don't know what's going to happen next. I mean, there's going to be the final season of, Supergirl. There's possibly going to be the final season of The Flash coming up soon. I think they're still talking about doing the Canaries and something with that. I don't know how that's going to happen or what's happening with that. There's all kinds of other stuff that might be moving forward with the DC extended universe with the TV shows, but I don't know. I just thought I'd, spark the debate of, Marvel versus DC again in today's vlog. I mean, if you just look at all of the stuff Marvel has coming up in the, next year or 2 or 3 versus what DC is doing in the next year or 2 or 3, it's pretty much mostly Marvel stuff. Mostly. Now, don't get me wrong, there's probably going to be some great DC stuff that's happening in the next year or 2 or 3, but Marvel's just overpowering DC, and they've always have, in my personal take. And I don't know if DC is gonna, have anything to say about that, in my eyes. I love to be proved wrong over the course of the next, 5 years, what DC does versus what Marvel does. But Marvel right now is just having hit show after hit show after hit movie after hit movie, where DC is just releasing 1 or 2 things every 5 or 6 months. But that's just my personal take on it. Everyone has their own personal opinion on it, and that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to finish Snyder Cut, and then I'm going to watch whatever I can on the Falcon. I don't know why I keep saying versus. Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then you got Loki in June. Like I said, you got Hawkeye. You've got Spider-Man Far From Home. I mean, there's just so much stuff's happening, and it's not just those. You've got Doctor Strange 2. You've got Black Panther 2. You've got Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings. You've got Eternals. I mean, there's just so many Marvel things that are happening right after another. Not only this year, but up until 2023. And I don't know what else to say. That's just my argument. Marvel seems like they're winning, and DC is kind of being left in the dust in the debate versus Marvel versus DC. Now, I know there's a lot of you that's going to argue DC is better, and a lot of you are going to agree with me that Marvel's moving, 10 times faster than DC ever has or ever will. But that's just my take. Now, we've got birthdays to wish today, so let's dive into that. So we've got Tiffany Herrera, who turned 33. We got Rachel Talbot, who turned 34. And we got Benny Fine, who turned 40. And we got Dee Ford, who turned 30 today. So happy birthday to all 4 of those individuals. And I will see you tomorrow with the brand spanking new vlog. And ciao.